Petra, and good evening. I'm Christine Leong, representing the Malaysian Association of Canada. We are very honored today to have the opportunity to speak to Sister Sabria, the Mother Teresa of Montreal, who founded Sister Sabria Foundation. Datin Paduka Sabariah Hussein, fondly known as Sister Sabria, has worked tirelessly to feed the hungry in Montreal for over the past 30 years. She has prepared more than 700,000 meals, most of the time in her own kitchen. She founded a shelter for women and has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for humanitarian causes. We will begin this session by recognizing that June is National Indigenous History Month. We shall begin with a statement of land acknowledgement in honor of the traditional and ancestral lands of the Indigenous people. The Malaysian Association of Canada, MAC, acknowledges this land on which we work. Turtle Island is the territory of diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live, work, and play on this land. We respectfully acknowledge that the MAC office sits on the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Métis, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Acknowledging the cultural mosaic of Canada, we acknowledge the many other peoples who have contributed to this place we now call home. We want to acknowledge the many traditions and cultural backgrounds that are represented. You, your families, and your ancestors all have roles to play in making this space an inclusive and welcoming one, and for that, all of us at MAC say thank you. We now begin our chat with Sister Sabria. By the way, we want to hear from you. If you have any comments or questions, please enter them so we can respond to them throughout the show. Welcome, Sister Sabria. Apa kabar? How are you today?
Right, I'm fine, thank you. I'm being honored to be, in this show, and welcome to be with me, the Malaysians especially, and all the Malaysians here also in Toronto and Montreal, inshallah. And I welcome every question that I possibly can answer. So please, yes, inshallah, carry on.
Okay, thank you so much to be here with us today. So let's start from the top. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself? Where were you from in Malaysia, and where did you go from there?
Oh, I see. So way back in 1984, um, I read the email, not email, Malay mail, and I saw in one of the advertising columns, and they say that there is a job opening in Montreal, and that kind of job I think really suits me because they're asking for a special educator for special children and with special needs. So there I come, and out of fighting for the five people, and then they elected me because I think they selected me namely because of my age. Maybe I'm a little more mature than the other younger, people, inshallah. So I came here with that aim, to teach the special children, here.
Okay, thank you. But originally, I read that you're from Johor.
Yes, I am. I am from Johor Bahru. I was born in Wadiahana, Johor, but I moved to Singapore later because when I was 3 or 4, my parents, my late father, got a job in Singapore. So we moved to Singapore, and I stayed there. We stayed there for almost 22 years.
Oh, wow, that's a long time to be in Singapore. Did you go
Yes.
back to Malaysia back and forth a little bit?
Of course, because we have relatives and kampong. I
Mm.
like to go to I remember my father used to have the Fort Anglia and Morris Minor and all full of fruits when we get back to Singapore. But before that, and at that time already I know that my father had his duty because he was bringing clothes and makanan to the kampong, to help the people in need, inshallah.
Okay, so you live in a kampong and then you went to a big city in Singapore, and I think you studied something that allowed you to be a special educator. What was it that you had studied in?
Yeah, in Singapore, when after finishing my high school, I took out courses, that they offered me also a job as an educator at the Spastic Children Association of Singapore. So I was
Ah,
there for a number of years, but then I was being called in JB because one of doctors that involved with the Singapore side, he called me and he said, since you're a Malaysian, why don't you teach also on the Malaysian side? Thereby, I was teaching in Malaysia also for the Spastic Children Association of Johor at that time. That's why I went back later. And by that time, it was already 22 years, around 22
okay.
years. Uh-huh.
So it sounds like from a very young age, you have already been working with a segment of the community who needed a bit more care than others, yeah?
Obviously, because but I got it from my parents. You see,
Oh,
my
okay.
yeah, my parents, they are very what do you call that? Is very helpful, and with that kind of attitude, very tolerating with the needy, and yatim anak yatim kan.
Anak yatim. Mm-hmm.
Memang dia ambil kan banyak ramai yang yatim tinggal dengan kita lah. Dia ambil
Mm-hmm.
for us to share when we were younger. Start sharing and caring, when we were young.
Mm-hmm.
So it was already in me, actually. It's not now. It was when I was young. And then my parents passed away later, I think in the
Mm-hmm.
70s, and they passed away. So
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself that I must continue with the good work. I have to
Wow.
stay, I mean, uh, really my sisters were also doing the good work too, because we got the examples from our parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's why.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. Do you have any stories that you can share from when you were young and perhaps you had, because your parents were taking in other children to live with
Yes,
you, right?
yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
can you share a little bit of story, something that had, stuck in your head all these years that
yeah,
inspired you? Yeah.
it's possible. One of the incidences that I barely cannot forget is the fact that, because I was a very mischievous child. I was hopping around here and there, disturbing my sisters and my mother. And then I would end up like being called names, like, names, because jahat kan, nakal. So,
Nakal.
yeah. So what happened is one day they called me names, and I was very upset, and
Oh.
I was in tears. But I went back to my room and get something in my hand. I went to what do you call that, to take from my piggy bank,
Uh-huh.
something. So my mother caught me and they said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going somewhere. I will tell you later." So when I came back, then she asked me, "Where did you go to? And what did you bring?" I said, "No, I took some coins from my piggy bank to kasih orang peminta sedekah, to give to the needy."
Oh.
And I was barely 6, 7 years old. And then, my mother said, "What? Kenapa?" And then I
Yeah.
said, "Because they called me names, I was so sad. And then out of anger, I took the coins and gave to the poor." And then that
Oh.
soothed me. And that really touched my mother's heart. And she said, "Okay, mak kasih lagi. You go into next time. You kalau sakit, kalau apa kecil hati, okay, you do this, you do this." And ask me. I was laughing at
Oh.
that incident. I never forget in my life
Oh
until
my
now.
gosh. So
So
you were so kind and caring
I
and so
wouldn't
selfless.
say that I'm kind, but it's a spontaneous act. It was just a
Wow.
spontaneous act. Out of anger, I was doing something because I was a mischievous child. They called me
Yeah.
names, as I said.
Ah. So how many brothers sisters
Oh,
do you
really,
have?
I have six of us. There were six of us. My parents used to pick up my cousins' children and all that stay with us because they are yatim.
Ah, anak
Their
yatim.
father passed
Mhm.
away, and
Mhm.
then the neighbors, that when the people from the compound, they know that they need help. My father knew that they really need help, and he bring them up, or we go to the kampong, and we always have
Ah.
our car full of things to go and bring there. And then when we come back, we're full of coconuts, full of penuh dengan the
Durian ada, durian ada.
durian lah, musim durian penuh dengan kereta tu. Tapi kan dulu tak ada seat belt, tak ada apa. Habislah jatuh ke duri. Durian, like coconut kan. Dengan
Manggis, langsat
banyak penuh,
semua.
langsat, manggis, rambutan, whatever you have, the kampung people will give my parents, and then we'll fill up our car. I remember that very well. And then when the minute I step in there, the kampung side, I will go right up to the tree and take the rambutan and jambu ke rambutan, whatever I can get hold of. And then I was very mischievous because I took the good, the bad ones. I threw on my cousins apa yang bawah, and they were crying. They were not happy with my behavior.
Tapi Kak Sabria, are you anak bongsu, the last one, or?
No. I was the third. I was the
third one. Middle child.
I have a sister, elder sister until today, like Kalong, Elong, and she's about 78 now, 77, 78. And then is my second sister who passed away, Zabeda. And then the third one, Kalung, is Rapta. The second one is Zabeda. And then me, Sabariah, that means the third one. And the fourth is my brother, Hamza, but he passed away. And then the fifth one is Fazulun, still in JB. And then, so there were three of us left now. There are still three of us. Yeah, inshallah.
And you still keep in touch with them and you call them often? Oh,
yes, of course. But I had difficulty with my sister in Singapore because I want to send her some money, and it's very difficult to send even MoneyGram there.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how it works, but I went through, but it was a failure. So I had to get my money back, but I'm still thinking of a good way to send to her, dia dah umur, maklum lah, orang dah umur macam kita je.
Yalah.
Kesian, InsyaAllah.
Rindu laksa Johor tak?
Memang lah. When I was in the hospital, I remember very well Sultana Johor. She came to pay me a visit, right, in the hospital in Serdang. And then after which, I think two days later, she sent the Laksa Johor about for 30 of us. So we all had a good Laksa Johor. Then I was really eating very well, because although I was not well, but I was eating because I didn't eat Laksa Johor for some time. So, alhamdulillah. You like Laksa Johor? Do you
sadly, I have never tried it. I'm so sad. There's so many kinds of laksa, and I'm
Laksa Penang, right? Another one is
Laksa Penang ada, laksa Sarawak pun ada.
Laksa Sarawak I tasted. My cousin gave me. Inshallah. So anyway, I rindu all this, but when you get older, kena jaga lah sikit makanan. Just because of the health, health reason.
Yes.
Pasal orang Malaysia suka goreng-gorengan kan. Kalau kita, but we have to eliminate that, on the oil.
Yes.
Yang itu, apa-apa yang meat.
Let's talk about your mission and your foundation. So your mission is to help the needy, and you just shared with us that you had this spirit of giving since you were really young. So you shared that your parents had also inspired you to do this at a very young age. Were there any other inspirations in life that kept you going all this time?
I guess the people around me plays a very important role too. The people around me, and because my sisters are away, so I cannot get my family. They are far away. So, but I'm depending on the force that is behind me, the youth here, the one in the McGill University students. Like from McGill, from Concordia, and my University Montreal, UQAM.
So that's the network of volunteers.
Yeah, the network. And then from there it spread, So that gave me the strength, the ability to do such work. Because if I can never dream that doing it alone, because I need the strength of the youth. Because you besar, so big, for 500, 600 people. So obviously the berat kan. So as strong as before. Before I
Ah,
can easily carry the big pot like that, but now
oh,
dah kurang lah tenaga.
terror lah Kak Sabria.
Yeah, that's kurang tenaga.
Yeah. So
But
in the
alhamdulillah,
beginning,
yeah, sorry.
yeah, in the beginning, you started from your home. So you started
Yes.
cooking and yeah, and
Mhm.
opening your doors to the
Yes,
needy
no,
right in your home.
yeah, but firstly, I started with sandwiches, and then I went to the soup. Yes, and then when I saw more people need food, like the homeless and all that, so I
Right.
found out that the church around me, that's
Uh-huh.
very close to me, requires help. So
Okay.
so I offered them. I went to see them and I said, "How often do you give the food?" And they say twice a
Okay.
week. So I
Okay.
said, "Let me have the chance. Please let me have the chance to serve,
Mm.
the homeless." And they were impressed, and they say, "Oh, by all means." So I was there for
Mm.
quite some time, about 10 years, I think, or so.
Okay.
But now, because I moved to another place,
Okay.
and now I'm in search for another, maybe two, three more churches to see
Okay.
the indigenous people and
Oh.
also the homeless. And we just
Mm.
had it just last Saturday that we went to Berucam, to Lenogru, the metros, the
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
where the homeless, they were there to wait
Mm-hmm.
for somebody to give them food, and
I
they come running
see.
to us. They come running
Oh.
to us. You know, there was a Dr. Kurumche. He was voluntarily doing the work with me. So he was driving me to the station to get, and is easily, alhamdulillah, we get thumbs up with the people, the public, when they saw
Mhm.
us. And me with hijab, I was giving the homeless, right? So,
Yeah.
because it's once in a while it's a bit scary, but I
Ah,
said, oh, it doesn't matter. I said,
right.
Allah is watching, so He will
Right.
protect me. So alhamdulillah. So even the security happened to be Muslim, so I was a little secured, and
Okay.
even in that place where I had to serve,
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
little
And
scary. But anyway, yeah.
and you also have some culinary training, right? To cook for this many amount of people, hundreds of people. It
Uh-huh.
definitely takes some training. So tell us a little bit about your culinary
Mhm.
training
When I
education.
when I was in, I went back to Malaysia from when I was in Saudi, and then I was in Indonesia. I was teaching in a yatim school for free for 3 years, so that I can do something for my life at that time. So when I came
Okay.
back, I said, no, I have to take something, and I went to do cuisine for the Western cuisine. I
Okay.
make sure that there is no pork there, and
Okay.
it's so
Halal.
yes,
Okay.
it's halal. It's halal, but it's not. It belongs to the Chinese,
Oh.
Chinese and Westerner. So I managed. They managed to teach us the right thing to do. Like, even I, before I came here, I know how to make spaghetti, pizza, and all
Mm-hmm.
the little Western food. So
Yeah.
as I get along, so when I came here, of course, my interest grew when I came here. So I started with the sandwiches of different kinds,
Right.
like
Okay.
tuna and
Hmm.
chicken and all that. So it's easy for me, and it grew bigger and bigger. And once you
Uh-huh.
start with small, so of course it was in my house before, and sometimes the Concordia University at that time, there was no holidays.
Mm.
During the holidays, we cannot get the place in their kitchen, but
Okay.
otherwise we were welcome at that time. So for good 8 years, I was there in the university, and
Mm.
thereby I can get the students involved,
Okay.
and we can easily issue them a certificate even now, if any students or what they need their resume, to
Right.
sound a little better. So I can
Okay.
produce a letter of appreciation,
I see.
then it like to go along with the resume, right?
Okay.
So the
Yeah.
companies would like to hear that,
Yeah, that's good.
yes.
So, what's the most amount of people that you've cooked for, and how long does it take to plan and cook for, a
Mhm.
large amount of people?
We cook for about almost 1,000 people per day, and
Oh
that
my
was in
goodness.
Cambodia. Yeah, 1,000 in university. Concordia at that time because they have big pot, that
Okay.
easily I can cook for 500 at one time, and that I
Okay.
can double it, and
Wow.
even the rice and the curry or whatever we are cooking, and the oven, and even McGill and Concordia, they are very cooperative.
Mm.
So these two universities, I can go from one university to the other to the same day to check
Oh.
what the other side what happened,
Oh
and
my
then
goodness.
we combine force, and we give it to them in I think in Concordia, where they serve about 1,000 people. It was
Wow.
very, yeah, inspiring at that time.
Yeah. Tak penat, not tired.
Of course, I end up tired. Of course, and yeah, I even, I remember I overslept, and the metro leads me to another place,
Oh my
and each
goodness.
time, instead of going back to my house, at that time we had no transport to pick me up,
Okay.
so they call a meeting because I lost, and even and I was too sleepy when I
Uh,
went to the taxi, and when the driver asked me, "Where are you going, madam?" I said, "Don't disturb me, I'm sleepy." I said, "Shh, don't disturb me, I'm sleepy." so so the guy who was running to Tim Hortons nearby, and he checked the Muslims, and they called, there is one lady, she covers her hair, and when I asked her where she wanted to go, it was 1 in the night. And
oh
and
goodness.
and he said, no, that's not practical. She didn't know where she want to
She
go,
was gone.
and because she was so sleepy. So when the students came to see me, I said, the three students said, "Sister Sabria." So it was, they saw me, and one of the guys brought me home and
Oh,
tell me that we had a
oh my
meeting
goodness.
that she needs transport, otherwise it's not safe for her. So
Yeah.
yeah, pukul satu malam, because into
Bahaya kan?
metro, ya, dekat dalam subway, bahaya. Tak sampai-sampai rumah.
Oh,
Tak
oh,
sampai-sampai rumah.
so,
Balik to the end, to the other end, to the end. Terus
oh my
ngantuk sangat. Oh,
goodness.
almost 1,000 people. Tentulah ngantuk. Tapi I was
Yeah.
stronger that time.
Oh my
Of
goodness.
course, I
So
was stronger.
speaking of sleep, so I read that there was one time you slept for 3 days and it turns
Yeah.
out that you had a stroke.
Yes, yes. At that time, it was
Okay.
tsunami time, and I told my husband, "Don't disturb me, don't call me, or
Because you did
I
some
just want to sleep."
fundraising, right? Like
Yes, it
non-stop
was.
fundraising.
Yeah, non-stop fundraising. We were on the street. We were even buying chocolates at that time to sell to the public, and we got from the factory. And instead of only 25 cents that I got from the factory, I sold for $2, $2.50.
Untung besar.
So we get banyak, people even give more. I mean, they knew that we were
Yeah.
searching for money for Indonesia. So tsunami.
Yeah.
Jadi, the many stories,
Oh
So,
my goodness. So
mhm.
it turns out the first time I read that you slept for 3 days and you
Yes,
told me you told your husband don't wake you up.
yes. You know what happened? Yeah, when I slept thoroughly, and what happened is when I woke up, I asked him, "Oh, what's the time?" I think I slept very well, and then he said, "Oh, you just woke up," because my husband thought he went to work. He thought when he came back, I was still sleeping. Fever. I was in a coma at that time because
Oh my
because I was
goodness.
so tired because of the tsunami. So anyway, I told him, uh, and he said no. He said, you were sleeping when I came back from work. You were sleeping in it. I said, but what is the date today? He said. So we counted that it was on the 7th, and I woke up early in the morning at
Oh,
11. Yes,
oh my
tujuh
goodness.
tujuh tu, I was
7 hari
asleep
bulan.
sampai 7 bulan sampai 11 morning. That
Oh my
I
goodness.
asked my husband what's the time. I say I slept very well, and he said, "Well, I think you might think that you have slept well,
Yeah.
but maybe you're in a coma." So I went to check with the doctor, and it's true
Uh,
that I had a stroke. You know,
uh.
so
So that's the first time. And
yes,
then second time you got a stroke. Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
The second time of the more than 2 years, but Alhamdulillah until now, because I was taking my medicine, my
Right.
medication, proper medication,
Right.
inshallah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
Wow. I
mhm.
mean, That is really, really inspiring. Two strokes doesn't stop you. There's so many things that happen in your life,
Alhamdulillah.
and
Mhm.
it still didn't stop you. So apart from preparing hundreds of meals to be distributed through various local agencies, right, and your
Yeah.
volunteers, you also provided accommodations to
Yes.
international students, as well as a shelter to women and families in vulnerable situations.
Yes.
Um, so, what challenges have you faced in your mission? I mean, you seem to be doing a lot.
Hmm. The
What kind of
challenges,
challenges?
of course,
Yeah.
the challenges from the shelter, especially because we
Oh,
don't know who will come in, right? So, and
okay.
then when they stay there, sometimes they don't want to leave, and yeah, we don't. We have no intention to help them for long. We only try to help them for a stepping stone. Like
Okay.
you're with me, you have to help me too. You know, whatever I do,
Right.
jangan you jadi macam raja. I have to cook. You have to come and help me. No, you will be reading newspaper or reading some
Yeah.
magazine and
Right.
expecting me to come up with the food for
Oh.
you, you know. So I
Ingat
can't.
macam hotel kan? Check
Jadi,
in, room service.
jadi itu dan challenges there. You have to be nice to them, but at the same time be strict. Be very
Yeah.
punctual and strict. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
itu challenges.
So how do you manage your foundation now? I mean, it seems to have grown over the years,
Mhm.
and you're doing more and more. How do you manage everything?
Well, of course, I have to assign a number of students and number of people in certain
Mhm.
areas. For example, I have, those sponsors, come from different walks of life, the people from different walks of life to help
Mhm.
come forward and help us, especially in
Mhm.
Ramadan, where we have a tedious work, ahead of us because of the time consuming also because we have to be ready on time for the iftar.
Okay.
And the iftar here in Montreal is not the same like in Malaysia. You have specific time is easy, but here
Right.
sometimes it's as early as 4 o'clock, Margaret. You know,
Ah,
sometimes it's as late as 9 o'clock. So it
right.
differs from year to year. Like
Okay.
this year it was not bad. It was 7 to 9, 7 and 8 o'clock. So
Okay.
Maghrib is earlier. So it depends on the Maghrib. The Maghrib is the third
Maghrib.
prayer.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Mhm.
we have to be fast
Oh,
in
wow.
view of the people waiting for us with the food. And
Mhm.
now because of the
Mhm.
pandemic, we add more to that, right?
Oh,
Ada
yeah.
yang bukan Islam, mestilah
Yeah.
dia perlukan time dia tu nak dekat sama juga.
Yeah.
So yang
Yeah.
bukan Islam pun tunggu juga dekat masjid.
Uh-huh.
Jadi kalau kadang-kadang orang undocumented juga, kita kesian
Okay.
kan? So
Yeah.
we have to
Yeah.
help them to a certain area. So right
Yeah.
now I'm concentrating on Ethiopia and Syria.
Okay.
They had their
Mhm.
connection. They
Mhm.
are coming to take
Okay.
uh,
Wow.
macam-macam barang yang kita
Yeah,
boleh
kan
hantar
semua
ke
kan hamba Allah
respective
kan?
country. Yeah, of
Hmm.
course. Of
Hmm.
course, in as much as we need, to help them, I
Yeah.
need the community to help me, to go through,
Oh, that's amazing. There's a
especially when I'm coming to the age.
there's a question in a comment which we will take.
Yes,
It's Hans anyway. He asked, must be interesting performing service as a Muslim in Quebec during this time. Do you
yes,
find it more challenging given the religious restrictions imposed by the Quebec government?
obviously, obviously, it's interesting because you know, as I've said, I'm the kind of person I take no for an answer. And I know I'm
Wow.
right. You have to be, supporting me. Even sometimes people call me, for example, they call me terrorist, right? I told
Mm,
them, you call me terrorist, so you come and join me and see what I'm doing. I'm helping your people. So why are you calling me terrorist? You come and join me, So
yeah.
so I dare confront them, come and
Wow.
join. And my idea is not to fight back, but just to confront them and say do good things together.
Oh, that's
Inshallah.
great. Okay, so we're wrapping up the interview now. So what hopes and dreams do you have post-pandemic?
Hopes and dreams. Oh well, I'm hoping to see my shelter that's going. Now we need to renovate
Okay.
from 3 apartments to make dorm of maybe 10
Okay.
rooms, and that is post-pandemic, because
Okay.
right now I'm a little alert with who is
Mm,
joining me, because in
I
case
see.
they have COVID,
I
and
see.
I have to scrutinize them thoroughly to see,
Okay.
where to go from there. Because if
Okay.
I don't, if they cannot stay with me, then I have to find for them somewhere else,
Right.
right? Yeah, because
Right.
it's fair. Otherwise, it's a bit ridiculous to shun them away. So I have
Wow.
to give her help somehow or the
Yes.
other with the other places, inshallah.
Yes. Okay. So thank you so much, Sister Sabria, for sharing your story with us.
Most
It's been
welcome.
humbling to hear your journey as a female Muslim Malaysian in Canada, in Quebec, who has done so much for the society. To our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. Sister Sabria's foundation is still actively crowdfunding to pay off the remaining mortgage. So please go to sistersabria.com, and there's a button that says donate now. You can make a donation to her foundation. So this interview can be found on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our website. Follow and subscribe to us to stay updated with more exciting events we have planned for the future. Thank you so much, Sister Sabria.
Most
Um,
welcome.
yeah, and everyone else, have a wonderful evening.
Yes,
Good
and I'm
night.
welcoming to everybody also to come in, check me here, or come to visit my place. Okay, you too.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Okay,
Thank
bye
you.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.